All right, we will now move to agenda item 10, which is discussion and possible adoption of resolution to amend the charter of the city of Rockville by amending section 1 of article 2, the mayor and council, and section 4 of article 3, registration, nomination, and election, so as to increase the number of elected council members from 4 to 6. Councilmember Ashton.
Madam Mayor, this has been something that I've listened even before I was elected to you all discuss this publicly, and I recall in some of those meetings before I was elected that there was a whole discussion about we should wait until there's a charter review commission. And so I really appreciate that that happened and the discussion you all had, and why I kind of pushed forward with thinking that this is something that we should move with as a mayor and council now. And I think that, given that it's been so long since this has happened in terms of how many people have been representing the city, the population has grown. I think we've heard a lot of positive feedback in this regard. The Charter Review Commission has agreed with it. We have had it publicly discussed for many, many years. And so for me, I'm ready to make a motion, but I do want to hold and make sure that my colleagues have a chance to share their opinions as well.
Councilmember Pershela.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Ashton, why don't you just go ahead and make it, because then we have a discussion, and I will have a few opinions there.
I move that we adopt a resolution to amend the charter of the City of Rockville by amending Section 1 of Article 2, the Mayor and Council, and Section 4 of Article 3, registration, nomination, and election, so as to increase the number of elected council members from 4 to 6.
Councilmember Pershela.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will second.
Thank you. Councilmember Dr. Miles.
Are we going to have discussion, Madam Mayor? Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, I'm excited about this. I think it's interesting looking at the history, and I appreciate our Director of Council Operations, Ms. Taylor Farrell, for updating me and educating me on this, because some of the decisions about this occurred prior to my even living in Rockville when it first was a referendum, I believe back in 2013, as you outlined. And interestingly enough, at the time, on those, I think there were 3 advisory referenda questions. The one with regard to expanding the number of council members from 4 to 6, majority of people, a plurality of people actually objected to it. So it's interesting that 10 years later, we're at a point where we're having this discussion. However, I think that process was informative. I think it's always a good idea to get information, as much information from the citizens, from the people, I should say, our neighbors, about such major decisions. And I'm, despite what the way the referendum went, 10 years ago, I'm actually ready to support it for the reasons that have been articulated, both in the Charter Review Commission's report, as well as just basic common sense for a municipality of this size to have so few members relative to others. So thanks so much to the residents of Rockville for all the information, their input, and thanks to staff for the background. I look forward to supporting this.
Thank you. Councilmember Pershela.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will support this very enthusiastically. My only regret is that if you want to be bold, we'll go for 8 or 10 council members. I don't have the numbers, but I know in 18 whatever it was, when several hundred people had the franchise, and we had 5 people. At that time, women couldn't vote, black people couldn't vote, whatever. Now we're in a vastly different arena. I would certainly go to 8 or 10 even now, but I don't think that's going to happen. But if you really want, to represent the city, even with 6, it's hard to do that. It's hard to represent the city with 6 people representing it geographically, representing it ethnically, racially, whatever demographic you want to draw. It's just hard for a city of this diversity to represent with even 6 council members. But it is certainly a step in the right direction, and I will support it. Thank you.
Councilmember Feinberg.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought long and hard about this one over the last probably month and a half. And admittedly, I was someone who was championing having a referendum on this, and my thinking had been that it's been 10 years since the last time we um, we did have this on the referendum as a question. But there are many people who moved into the city, some who have left the city, and we have admittedly in the last referenda, as many of us are aware, when you door knock, the residents who live in multifamily homes are often not receiving literature and may or may not be as informed. But I will definitely support it. I would not support 8 or 10. Councilmember Pichella, I appreciate and respect your perspective. I would hazard that the meetings, which are now often going long, if you have 8 or 10, that would exponentially also elongate the time of meetings. Because I think there would be pressure on everybody to speak about everything. So I will support this. I think it's the right thing to do. I think, though, sometimes there's confusion about saying that increasing it from 4 to 6 council members would, by definition, increase the diversity. If we were to look at the last election, if we had had 6, we would have had representation in East Rockville, and we would have had the first Asian American elected. So I appreciate it, but I don't think it ensures it. I think what we should be doing is making sure that all the voters get the opportunity to be educated about the issues, to attend the debates, to look at all the literature that is disseminated. But I will support it, but I don't think it, by definition, ensures the diversity. And as one person said, look at it up here. We have 2 African American members, and we all celebrate that. We have a mixture of different neighborhoods and genders, and perhaps even different ideas on different issues, as we've seen after the last almost 3.5 years. But I will definitely enthusiastically support it, as looks like all of us will.
Can I jump? Thank you. So I like to wait till everybody's finished. And it's very interesting. I have the dubious distinction, but definitely the privilege and pleasure of having served on this council longer than anybody else has. And that has given me a great deal of my own personal research, a great deal of opportunity to understand how things work. And as I said in December, I absolutely support increasing the number of council members because, number one, it's representation for the whole city, which I challenge the number of 67. I think it's more like 70,000. But it's also the ability to work together. When you have 5 members of the body, the majority is 3, which means no more than 2 of us can talk together at any one time. And while in some day they may raise the number even more, right now, even just having 3 of us be able to get together, break bread and have a conversation would be wonderful. And I think it could solve a lot of the problems as we all sit up here and try to work through things. So with that said, I'm pleased that this is coming forward, and I'm even more pleased that it's going to be a unanimous vote. I think that is a wonderful opportunity to once again, as Mr. Scott said, show that this council leads. So I definitely support it. Councilmember Ashton, thank you for making the motion.
I just wanted to note, the other thing I think that has been helpful is to see what other municipalities are doing as part of Maryland Municipal League. I think some of us have been involved in that, and we've been able to see, sometimes larger councils in smaller cities. So I think that perspective also is weighing in here for me to see what's happening across Maryland. I do think that having more people will inherently have diverse voices, even different types of diversity of thought. But I also think that I'm so passionate about this job. I try to go to as many places as I can, listen to as many people as I can, and even having more people who can get out there in the community to be there with our residents, I think will help our diversity and be better representatives for our city. So with that, I'm just so thankful to my colleagues for being bold to do this. I've heard it many years, and it is a historic day. I hope that we can move this forward.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. It's been duly seconded. All those in favor of increasing the number of elected council members from 4 to 6, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you.